Balance. It's a word that sounds simple, yet it often feels so hard to grasp. We all search for balance in our lives, between work and rest, giving and receiving, movement and stillness. Some say it's the key to happiness, while others believe it's just an illusion. But one thing is certain, everything in life is a matter of balance. Look around you. The world is built on duality and harmony, day and night, inhaling and exhaling, expansion and retreat. Even nature constantly balances itself. Nothing remains static. But how do we find that balance within ourselves? How do we avoid extremes and learn to adjust our inner scale day after day? Today, let's explore this idea through philosophy, wisdom from the past, and practical ways to bring balance into our everyday lives. The search for balance is not new. Some of the greatest minds in history have explored this idea. Aristotle and the golden mean. Aristotle believed that virtue lies between two extremes. For example, courage is the balance between cowardice and recklessness. He believed that harmony comes from moderation, from avoiding excess. Lao Tzu and the yin-yang. In Taoist philosophy, everything is about the balance between two opposing but complementary forces. The yin and yang show that light cannot exist without darkness, and that we cannot truly appreciate fullness without having experienced emptiness. The Stoics and emotional mastery, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and Epictetus taught that true inner balance comes from accepting life as it is, without being overwhelmed by extreme joy or despair. Nietzsche and the necessity of chaos. Unlike the idea of a fixed balance, Nietzsche believed in a constant dance between order and chaos. He argued that growth comes from navigating between the two. Khalil Gibran and the scale of emotions. In The Prophet, Gibran writes that the deeper sorrow carves into our soul, the more joy we can contain. A beautiful reminder that balance does not mean the absence of pain, but rather the ability to transform it into something greater. All of these thinkers agree on one thing. Balance is not a straight line. It's a dance, a constant movement between two forces. But how do we apply this in our everyday lives? In our emotions? Instead of chasing happiness all the time, what if we accepted that sadness, frustration, and uncertainty are part of the equation? The goal is not to suppress them, but to prevent them from taking over. Like waves in the ocean, they rise and fall, but the sea always finds its calm again. In our work, we hear a lot about work-life balance, but in reality it's not a fixed formula. Sometimes we need to push forward, other times we need to step back and rest. Balance is about knowing when to shift gears. In our relationships, balance means giving without losing ourselves, listening without disappearing. It's about knowing when to show up for others and when to take time for ourselves. In our bodies, movement and rest, discipline and pleasure, healthy habits and indulgence. It's not about control, but about knowing when to recharge and when to push forward. One of the biggest mistakes we make is believing that balance is a destination, as if one day we'll reach perfect stability and everything will stay that way forever. But that's not how it works. Balance is dynamic. It's something we constantly adjust. Think of a tightrope walker. They don't stand still. They are always making micro adjustments to avoid falling. They lean left, then right, correct themselves, move forward. That is balance. The same applies to us. Temporary imbalances are part of life. Sometimes we need to lose ourselves a little to find our center again. In nature, everything moves in cycles. The seasons change, the tides rise and fall. Even our breath alternates between inhaling and exhaling. True balance is not found in stillness, but in this continuous flow. So, where do you stand in your own balance? Are there areas in your life where you feel off-center? Balance is not about being perfectly aligned at all times. It's about learning to adjust, to listen to what is needed in the moment, and to accept that nothing is permanent. I'll leave you with this thought: harmony is not found in stillness, but in the dance of opposites. Thank you for listening. I hope this episode has given you something to reflect on and inspired you to adjust your own balance day by day. See you soon for another episode of the Low Voice Podcast.